After losing in heartbreaking fashion to the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Devils continued the success they saw in that game and snapped the Los Angeles Kings' 6-game winning streak. We have a lot to break down in today's episode of Locked On Devils, and Jack Hughes is a superstar if you didn't know already. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play announcer, Devils Rider Pucks Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. In the previous game for the New Jersey Devils, they lost in heartbreaking fashion to the Toronto Maple Leafs by a score of 2-1 in overtime. Austin Matthews, he hadn't been connecting on his shot all night long. He was whiffing at golden opportunities, but he finally broke through in overtime. It was heartbreaking. Like I said, the Devils played a very good game. Unfortunately, giving up a shorthanded goal and then testing Austin Matthews, that's not going to fare all that well. But in this game against the LA Kings, they had to pull themselves up by the bootstrings real fast because I don't think a lot of people realize how good this Los Angeles squad is. Coming into this matchup, they were rocking a 6-game winning streak. So all hands were going to be needed in order for the Devils to come away with this victory. And they did so, and they answered the bell quickly. In the first segment, I will share some of my main takeaways from the game. Then in the second segment, like I do with every recap victory, I will name my honorable mentions, players that caught my eye, and then list my personal 3 stars of the game. And then in the third and final segment, I will compare the stats and give the Devils a letter grade. All right, similar to what I just said, the Devils played a good game against the Maple Leafs, and the same can be said in this matchup against the Kings. I would say it was redemption, but the Devils didn't, like I said, Devils didn't have a bad outing. So this was a continuation. Because look at the shots on goal differential once again. The Devils limited the Kings to 1 measly shot on Jacob Markstrom in the first period. Only 8 in the second and then 4 in the third. Meaning the Kings finished off with 13 total shots on Jacob Markstrom. Yet the Kings still broke through with the goal. They actually took the lead first, but I will get to that momentarily. After the first period, the Devils were leading in the shots on goal differential 9-1. And I'm just like, all right, the Devils are continuing to do what they did against the Leafs, which is the Devils collectively are playing really well, but the Kings always had an answer. And I'm just like, all right, if the Devils can keep this up, I really hope, worst case scenario, this game goes into overtime once again. So that way they can walk away with something, because I would have been even more disappointed if they hypothetically lost this game in regulation. Luckily, it didn't get to that point. Devils are off to a good start, but nothing to show for it. Come the second period, something I want to acknowledge is that the referees really swallowed their whistles in this game. We didn't get our first penalty until almost halfway done with the second period. And even then, nobody had to go to the penalty box. What happened? Well, Brendan Dillon was assessed a hooking call on Alex Turcotte, and as a result, Turcotte got the opportunity to shoot a penalty shot, and he missed badly. Game continues on. It's still 0-0. The game progresses, and within the final 5 minutes in the second period, Jordan Spence, on a great one-timer shot set up by Alex Laferriere, found the back of the net on Jacob Markstrom. Now, there was some debate on social media. Was he screened by Brett Pesce? Was that savable for Markstrom? after looking back at the replay, Markstrom, you got to make that save. And it seems like that's the consistent talking point with Jacob Markstrom, which is games like this make me a little nervous because if the Devils aren't generating that many goals or if their offense is off to somewhat of a slow start and Jacob Markstrom lets in a soft goal, which he's bound to do, I'm just like, oh boy, it could be a 1-0 game based on how the Kings play. But luckily, it didn't really get to that point because Ondrej Palat, he answered the call late in the second. Originally, the goal was given to Jack Hughes, and I got to give credit to Jack Hughes because he was circling all around in the Devils' offensive end to make this a tie game. He was a man on a mission, but Ondrej Palat tipped it on in. There was also some questions as to whether or not Brendan Dillon tipped it on in, but ultimately the decision was made that it belonged to Ondrej Palat. We'll talk more about all three players I just mentioned in the second segment. Ondrej Palat credited with the goal, Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt given the apples. It's a tie game 1-1 heading into the intermission, and I'm just like, okay, that's good. Reset and come out with a sense of urgency in the third period. And that's exactly what the Devils did because the Kings, in my eyes, took a step backwards in the third period compared to the second. Devils did a good job just limiting any chances that the Kings were trying to create for themselves. But like I said, the Kings were certainly not going to go down quietly. And it got to a point where I'm just like, all right, next goal is going to win the game. And Jack Hughes on a great backhander pass from Ondrej Palat made it a 2-1 game. And then 5 minutes later, Jack Hughes set up Brett Pesce for a goal. But here's the thing. The Devils were shorthanded because Eric Haula was given a tripping call against Kevin Fiala. And Jack Hughes jokingly said post-game that was probably his first point shorthanded, but he's glad that he gave Brett Pesce the opportunity because that was Pesce's first goal as a Devil. And New Jersey ends up winning the game 3-1. And the Kings did everything they could possibly do. They tried making it 6-on-4 by pulling Reddick from the game, getting the extra attacker while the Devils were still shorthanded, but all went for naught. Devils, once again, back-to-back great outings against two tough opponents because the Leafs are currently first in the Atlantic Division, and the Kings were riding a 6-game winning streak, and that's got to boost the confidence for the Devils. Yes, we could talk about their timely goals and answering the call, but I've been more impressed with the Devils' defensive effort the last couple of games because the fact that they can limit the Leafs to 2 shots in one period and only 1 shot to the Kings in one period, that's something that should not be glanced over. Devils put up a great effort. I'm sure as the game progressed, the Devils grew more and more frustrated that they were once again getting goalied, this time by David Riddick. But it just took 1 shot to find the back of the net to light a spark underneath the Devils. Great team victory against Los Angeles. All right, I'm going to list some honorable mentions and name my 3 stars for the game momentarily. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree. Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. I've actually used Indeed before to book myself some play-by-play gigs, and I use it to this very day. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support my show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right, before I list my honorable mentions and also 3 stars, let's play a soundbite from head coach Sheldon Keefe in regards to playing better at home. Take a listen.
I think it's so important. I thought they were outstanding tonight. It's a game. There's not a lot going on, but I just thought that they stuck with us tonight. At times there's the chance going and the energy of the group. Like I said, not a lot going on in the game. It's a discipline. We're playing against the best defensive team in the NHL, and I think we're playing a pretty good defensive game as well. And so there's not a lot happening in the game. So you need patience and discipline as a hockey team. But we need our fans to drive us and create the energy, and I thought they were outstanding tonight. So that's the kind of stuff that we need. We want to be better on home ice, so we got to earn that from them. But they got to stick with us too and give us a boost when we need it. And I thought they were outstanding tonight. That's an important part of it, and I'm glad we could deliver for them.
I've said this before. I understand the frustration that some people want to see the Devils perform better in front of their own fans at the Prudential Center. Obviously, people are spending their hard-earned cash to watch the Devils play, but being a good road team, that's not something to make light of. That's incredibly difficult to do, and I'm sure the Devils will start to rack up more wins at the Rock. I definitely want to see it when I'm credentialed for the games, but for the time being a good road team is not all that bad, but I can understand the frustration, and I'm glad that Sheldon Keefe brought into the light. And if you didn't think that Sheldon Keefe was a good coach before, now you know. I love his passion, and I've been loving some of his post-game responses. And honestly, I know the Toronto Maple Leafs with Craig Berube, they're first in the Atlantic Division. Seems like they haven't skipped a beat, but I think I speak for the entire Devils discourse. Thank you for gifting us Sheldon Keefe. I've been loving him from a fan perspective, a media perspective. I think Sheldon Keefe was the right hire for New Jersey. All right, some honorable mentions. First, Dawson Mercer. Before I talk about the bad regarding Mercer, let's talk about the good, because similar to Nathan Bastian in the previous game against the Maple Leafs, right from the opening jump, I was really impressed with Dawson Mercer and his dogged determination. Seems like he was flying all over the rink, and I just wanted to bring it into light. Unfortunately, Dawson Mercer did have to leave the game early because he took a puck to the face. He went down the tunnel, and the only update I personally got via social media is that he had to get a few stitches. I don't think it's anything too serious, knock on wood. But for the time being, Dawson Mercer did have to exit the game early, and we'll see what happens as the days progress. My next honorable mention is Brendan Dillon. He got the secondary assist on Jack Hughes' goal, and I wanted to give a shout out to Brendan and his wife, Emma, for welcoming their second child. There's a joke in sports that after an athlete has a kid, he has new dad strength. And Brendan Dillon is not going to rack up that many points, but I'm glad that he walked away with a point in this particular game. So congratulations to Brendan and the entire Dillon family. I'm wishing his wife the best. And the next honorable mention is Jacob Markstrom. Now, slow down. The reason I'm giving Jacob Markstrom an honorable mention is that he now has 14 wins this season. He is tied for second most in the NHL right now. The current leader is Connor Hellebuck, the reigning Vezina Trophy winner. He has 18. I know Jacob Markstrom lets in a few soft goals here and there, but he does have 14 wins under his belt this season. Just got to give him some credit. And my last honorable mention goes to Timo Meier. It's funny, Rachel Herzog and the entire MSG broadcast team was talking about a story in which Timo Meier was playing for the San Jose Sharks, and he racked up 5 goals in a particular matchup against the LA Kings. And fun fact for you, none of those 5 goals came via an empty netter. So Timo Meier was just a one-man wrecking crew, once again, totaling 5 goals in one game against the LA Kings. And Rachel even said this during her narration of the story, that whenever the LA Kings come up on the schedule, I'm sure Timo Meier circles it on his date because he seems to have a lot of success against Los Angeles. Unfortunately, he didn't walk away with anything in this game, but similar to what Ken Danico and Bryce Salvador said on air, Meier deserved something in this game because he played a really good game. Unfortunately, he's not going to walk away with anything. So I can't make him one of my 3 stars, but I will give him a shout out. Timo Meier, I saw you on the rink. All right, my 3rd star goes to Brett Pesce, and I mean this respectfully, but I don't think Brett Pesce is going to be one of my 3 stars all that often. So I got to give him credit when credit is due. He got a shorthanded goal, pretty much the dagger goal to put the Devils up 3-1. And he jokingly said post-game that in that sort of instance, he just closed his eyes and hoped for the best. And Jack Hughes, as a result, in his words, got his first short-handed point. So congratulations to both respective players in that case, because Jack, he's going to rack up a lot of points, but not short-handed. And Brett Pesce, he's not going to rack up that many points, period. So I'm glad he got his first one under his belt as a member of the Devils. My 2nd star goes to Ondrej Palat. In his previous 6 games, Ondrej Palat now has 5 points, 2 goals, 3 assists. And prior to the Brett Pesce goal, Palat actually had a hand in the previous 3 goals scored by the Devils dating back to the Maple Leafs game, because he was the lone goal scorer for the Devils in that matchup. And in this game, he scored his own goal thanks to tipping it out in front, and he got an assist on the Jack Hughes goal, the primary assist. Ondrej told Bryce that he needed to start racking up more points, and that's what he's been doing. 5 points in his last 6 games. Not bad for Ondrej Palat. And him playing on the same line as Jack Hughes, I think it's worked wonders for him. But let's focus more on what he brings from a defensive standpoint as a forward. All right. My 1st star, who else? Jack Hughes. He had his 8th 3-point outing of the season. Incredible work by Jack Hughes, taking it upon himself to try to make sure that the Devils walked away with a win. After not registering a single point the last couple of games, he came alive in this matchup. And you love to see it. All right. I'm going to compare the stats and give the Devils a letter grade momentarily. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. And now, PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with PrizePicks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Once again, you can win up to 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks. Join now, because this holiday season, PrizePicks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Okay, before I compare the stats and give the Devils a letter grade, first a quick rant. Was anybody else tripped out while watching the game? What do I mean by that? Well, first and foremost, I am a big fan of the jerseys. When they were first released a couple seasons ago, I wasn't a fan of them at first, but they grew on me. I love them. I don't know how many people agree with me, but that's my personal take on them. I like them. But of all games, why wear them when you're playing the LA Kings, a team that is also black and white? It was just a little trippy to watch the game, if you ask me. Like I said, you had plenty of other home games to wear that uniform. Why wear it in that particular matchup? I'm just saying. All right, rant over, trying to focus on the good. All right. Shots on goal differential 26-13 in favor of the Devils. Power plays, Devils were 0 for 1, but they did get a shorthanded goal. The Kings were 0 for 1. Credit to the Kings. They know how to stay out of the penalty box. And I'm sure that was a point of emphasis from head coach Jim Hiller, which is if you put the Devils on the power play, they are deadly and dangerous. And I honestly didn't mind the little calls I saw throughout the course of the game. Obviously, you had that Alex Turcotte penalty shot in the second period. And then in the third period, Kings got a penalty, Devils got a penalty. I didn't mind the short amount of penalties in this game, but that's just me. Hits 27-18 in favor of the Devils. Had to be aggressive against this LA unit. Giveaways 20-15 in favor of the Kings. Takeaways 7-4 in favor of the Kings. Block shots 20-16 in favor of LA. Penalty minutes, both teams 2 minutes a pop. If I had to give the Devils a letter grade, I will give them an A. I gave them a B+ in the previous matchup against the Leafs. The only reason I gave them a B+ was just because they didn't win the game. But this game was sort of reminiscent to the previous one. So, as a courtesy, I will give the Devils an A because they did similar things and it carried over, and it wasn't redemption. It was a continuation, which is what I like to see. So I'm going to give the Devils an A for snapping the Kings' 6-game winning streak, suppressing one of the hottest teams in the NHL. And after the Kings went up 1-0, the Devils scored 3 unanswered goals. I liked it. And from my perspective, I'd say the Devils controlled this game from start to finish. Now, LA didn't make it easy on them, but I think the Devils had the upper hand. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on podcast streaming service, hit me up on my personal X page app at TrainMatt4 or the show's X page app at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day in New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening once again.